Okay? Again, let's think back to the ideas that we've gotten so far. The ideas that we have so far is if you had x squared plus something x, let's just choose 10x this time. Well, that's the hint that you're going to have to get an x plus 5 squared. Things are nice when you have x squared plus something. Now we're running into problems because there's numbers in front of the x squared. So we're going to do some algebra to make them look like x squared. First of all, what could you do to a half to get rid of it? What's the opposite of a half? Times by 2. So if I take this whole equation in A, and I multiply the whole equation times by 2, which is 1 half x squared plus 3x minus 9 over 2 equals 0. I multiply everything. So 2 times 1 half, that just becomes x squared. The 2 times the 3x, well, that will become plus 6x. The 2 times the negative 9 over 2 just becomes negative 9. And the 2 times the equals 0 is still going to be equal to 0. Have I got an x squared plus something x now? Yes. You might even check, maybe we can factor this one. Because if you can factor, I will still say that's the fastest method. So I'm going to do a quick check and fail miserably. Sorry for ruining the surprise. But if I tried to factor this, it would have to be x and x. To get 9, it's either 9 and 1 or 3 and 3. I see the 6, I'm like, it's not 9 and 1. I'm going to go with 3 and 3, and I'm quite excited that I've done this right. To get a plus 6, does it make sense that I need a plus 3 and a plus 3? But does that give me negative 9? No. This happens sometimes, though. You think you're on the right track, but you have to check it to find out, oh, the only possibility didn't work. But I can complete the square. So I want my x squared plus 6x on one side. I'm going to leave a space. I'm going to move the 9 to the other side and then leave a space. And the 6 gives me a hint. What's going to be squared? X plus 3. Again, that's 6. Gives me a hint. Half of that is going to be 3. And then that 3 basically tells me, well, if you have a 3 there, there has to be a number in here. And that number has to be a plus 9. But if I add 9 to this half of my equation, I have to add 9 to this half of my equation to keep it balanced. Now, nicely, the left side is x plus 3 squared, and the right side is going to be 18. Now I have something squared by itself. I can square root both sides. And I will get x plus 3 equals plus or minus, when you square root both sides, the square root of 18. And I could get x by itself by subtracting 3 on both sides. And the square root of 18, remember, if we can simplify square roots, we always do it. Even though they don't have it simplified at the bottom of your page, this is a better answer. Negative 3 plus or minus 3 root 2. So same thing in B. Negative 5x squared minus 10x plus 2 equals 0. If I want it in the nice form that I can complete the square, I don't want a minus 5 out front. What would I have to do to get rid of a minus 5? Divide by negative 5. Now, if you do something to one side of the equation, you have to do it to the other side. And if we divide this entire side by negative 5, it is like dividing this one by negative 5, this one by negative 5, and this one by negative 5. And the 0 is going to get multiplied by divided by negative 5 as well. What does that do? This becomes nicely x squared. What is negative 10 divided by negative 5? 2. Positive 2. This is nice. And, oh, I still have a fraction. But that's okay. Can you see this is going to be minus 2/5? We're going to leave it. And 0 divided by negative 5 is still 0. So this is my hint. I'm going to keep this x squared plus 2x here and leave a space for my hint. I'm going to move the 2/5 to the right side and leave a space. If I have x squared plus 2x, what has to be inside the square to do that? Right. And again, take that 2 and cut it in half. Because if you multiply x plus 1 times x plus 1, and multiply it out in your head, you're going to get x squared plus 2x. But then we'll also have to have a plus 1 here. So I'm going to need to add 1 to this side. Mental math. What is 2/5 plus 1? We have to have a common denominator, right? 1 is the same as 5 over 5. 2 plus 5, that'll be 7 over 5. I'm curious what the answer at the bottom of a page looks like. But right now, we can square root both sides. So if I square root this side, I get x plus 1. If I square root this side, I get plus or minus the square root of 7/5. Does the answer have this? Yes, they do? Okay. Technically, this is not simplified. Because we have a fraction inside of a square root. For this unit, right now, this is what they have at the bottom of the page. But on your test, this is what you're going to have to know. You're going to have to know that division means square root of 7 over square root of 5. And are we allowed to have square roots on the bottom from our previous unit? No. So we have to rationalize the denominator by multiplying by the square root of 5 and the square root of 5. This will give me x equals negative 1 plus or minus. On the top, now I'll have the square root of 35. And on the bottom, square root of 5 times square root of 5 is square root of 25, which just becomes 5. Technically, this is fine. However, you will also find out in math that they like to write an answer as a single fraction in the end. We can add these together if we had a common denominator. I can change my negative 1 to 5 over 5. So I'd have negative 5 over 5, and then I have a common denominator. This would be considered the most simplest way to write the final answer. Okay. I'll try 10 and 11.